to EdEx Talk, a program that will bring you a fruitful conversation on various subject matter. I am your host, Sir Gercov, English Junior High School Subject Unit Head. November is National Reading Month. This month reminds me of that slogan, may pag-asa sa pagbasa, or the other way around, but the same thought, nasa pagbasa ang pag-asa. Reading is a very important skill to learn in improving our students' comprehension and analytical abilities. It helps foster creative imagination and increases vocabulary. In the Philippines, National Reading Month is celebrated every November, initiated by then Secretary of Education, Brother Armin Luistro. The Department of Education set November 25th as Araw ng Pagbasa. Proclamation 1436, Series of 2007, for the National Book Development Month, and Proclamation 109, Series of 1936, for the National Book Week support this initiative. To help us understand more the importance of reading, I will be joined by St. Edward's School Librarian, Ms. Paula Alamilio. Hello, Ms. Paula. How are you?
Hi, Sir G. I'm good, thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our pilot episode of EdEx Talk. EdEx was coined from the phrase Edwardian excellence, right, Sir G?
Yes, Ms. Paula. Edwardian excellence is actually St. Edward's School's hashtag in everything we do, to remind us that we should excel not only in academics, but for every activity that the Edwardians undertake.
So that brings us to the title of this online program, EdEx Talk. I'm excited to discuss our topic for this episode since it's my first love, reading.
I'm sure of that, Ms. Paula. So for you, why do we need to celebrate the National Reading Month?
For me, Reading Month is celebrated to encourage reading. It promotes learning, and aside from that, it has health benefits such as increased cognitive function, memory, vocabulary, empathy, and decreases levels of stress.
I totally agree with decreasing the level of stress. I still remember the times when I had a lot of activities when I was still in college, of course. Reading seems to distress me, Ms. Paula?
Yes.
But we are also lucky to have with us today our special guest, an award-winning author. She also works as a creative writing instructor for kids, teens, and adults as well.
Her first book, What Things Mean, has won first prize in the Scholastic Asian Book Award competition, and she has a Master's of Fine Arts in Writing for Children and Young Adults from the New School in New York City.
Yes, I'm very excited and we're very honored to introduce to you our special guest today, Miss Sophia Lee. Hello, Miss Sophia.
Welcome, Ms. Lee.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me. Good morning to the whole Edwardian community, and good morning to you both as well.
Yes, so good morning here from the Philippines and good evening there in California.
That's right.
Ms. Lee, first, can you share with us what Things Mean is all about and what inspired you to write about it?
So, What Things Mean it's a young adult book. It's a story about a girl who's looking for her father, and it's also a story about a girl who's looking for meaning as she kind of figures out her own identity. When I was writing this book, it was also, because I was writing it as a student of writing. I had never written a book before that. Like I had never dared to dream that this book would actually go on to become published. I had written it as a project for school during like a creative writing class that I took. And it was also, I guess, my own search, like it mimicked my own search rather, for like my writing identity, because I was always a big reader, but when I was growing up, I wasn't as lucky as kids nowadays, who, because I feel like we have so many great locally based publishing houses that publish materials for children. And when I was young, I just thought that all books, came from America, because those were all the books that I had read. Like, I thought that the reason why the stories that I read featured characters that were blonde and were white was because those were the only stories that were valid and important. I was much older that I realized that there weren't enough people writing them. There weren't enough people wanting to produce them, and that's also why I wanted to write that story. And I guess that search for meaning is a little bit mirrored in the way that the book is structured. And it's also kind of what the book is about.
Right. I like it when Miss Lee says this book is her writing identity, right, Miss Lee? Now, since this is a book for middle school, Miss Lee, do you recommend this for adults as well, like the parents?
Definitely, I feel like even if it's aimed from a marketing perspective towards younger readers, a lot of the lessons are universal, in that parents can also share in Olive's journey. Um,
Right.
and parents can also, find reflections of themselves, mimic either, if not through Olive's journey, through the different family members' journey. Because it was important to me, to show an extended Filipino family, what an extended Filipino family looked like. Even if Olive's family is, unique, because a lot of the men are absent. And it's mostly the female matriarchs. The matriarchs of the family are kind of the ones who are present. Um, and it's not a fictionalized version of my life. So in my family doesn't look exactly like Olive's, but I think a lot of the values that many Filipino families have are shared in this book. Like, we love our family, we love our extended families. We find different ways to make our lives meaningful, and to hold on to each other, and to love each other even when it's hard. And I wanted to celebrate um, that generosity of spirit, that joy that's shared, like through eating and like through all of the different activities, with with the readers. And I think whether you're young or you're old, you can find something to learn or to discover about yourself if you read this book. And so definitely, I hope that more adults pick it up as well.
Right. So I agree with that, Miss Sophia. And this book may actually be written in English, but it introduces many readers around the world to the Filipino culture. So I truly admire the representation of a young Filipino teen, which I did not have the privilege to read when I was a kid.
Right. Thank you, Miss Paula. Now, Miss Lee, they say that good writer must be good reader as well. Is this true to you, Miss Lee?
Definitely. I think reading is one of the most important things that you should do as a writer. There's so many books out there, and like, if you're writing a story, you wanna know what's already been written, right? So in that aspect, like, for research purposes, for example, you have to read a lot, but you also have to read a lot to learn. And for me, every time I feel challenged to write something, like a difficult scene that I don't know how to talk about, I will try to see what has what has been done by authors that I admire. Like, how did they um, explain a difficult topic in a way that young readers would be able to relate. Well, especially when you're a beginning writer, it's really through reading widely that you discover your own writing voice, right? Like, you will discover what you like, you'll discover what good writing looks like. You'll discover what for you is not part of, what you want to be your writing voice. And you'll also discover things that you want to learn for yourself and things that you want to challenge yourself by. And so definitely, like, you have to be a big reader to become a writer. It's You can't not be a reader. And so I hope that if there are hopeful writers out there, you're already kind of cultivating your reading persona and that you're
Right.
encouraged to read because of this talk.
Right. Miss Paula, I totally agree with Miss Lee. When I was also in college, I'd love to write and I love to write courtroom dramas, courtroom scenes and topics because the kinds of books that I'm reading are also like courtroom dramas. And I don't think that you could write something really good or you can even have interest in writing if you're not really gonna read books, right?
That's true, sir. I agree with that. Actually, Miss Lee, as a child, I also love reading because for me, it takes you to another world and it also develops your human interaction with people. So I just want to know if there is an effect on the child's behavior in the kind of genre that he or she reads.
I don't necessarily think so. I think anything that encourages kids to read is a good thing. And so, like, I don't want to discriminate. Like, I know that there are a lot of parents or even educators who are worried, like, what kind of book should we be giving to kids? Every book has something to teach you. And like, as I said, like, if you're wanting to be a writer, you look at the book in different ways. First, for the story, right? Like, how good is the story and how effective was it in helping you escape your world, but also how effective was it in um teaching you how to write better, right? But a book, kids will pick up books for different things. Books will teach you different things. There will be some kids who are reading scary books because they want to learn how to be brave. And then will be kids who will learn how to be brave from following adventure books or sci-fi books, or maybe they'll discover they love sci-fi or science, or they'll want to become a doctor because they read some really good sci-fi. Like, I learned so much um, growing up from books because books are a safe space. And that's what I love about them. Is that they're safe spaces for a reader, for a young reader especially, to explore the kind of people that they want to be. And so whether they want to read history or comic books or romance or a mix of all of the above, like, I think as long as they're reading widely, um, it can only inform who they want to be better. I don't necessarily think that there's a direct link on, like, how a book will influence. It will touch a reader in a different way, but the one thing that we can be sure of is that with each book that they read, their mind will be more open to new ideas, right? And to new ways of seeing the world around them.
Right. So there's really no bad genres,
Yes.
so to say, right? But Miss Lee, is there such a thing as a bad book?
Um, so for me, I don't think there's such a thing as a bad book. Like, I don't want to generalize. I know a lot of parents are worried about when if their kids are, more into graphic novels or comic books than they are like fictional books with just text, or if kids are more into like webtoons, where you follow the serials online, like whatever format it comes in. Um, I think if there's like an aspect of reading, like of world building that pulls the reader into like a different world, that shows them like a different perspective, then I don't think that book can be bad. You have to be critical as a reader, at least in like looking at where the book is coming from. For example, when I was starting out as a writing student and like wanting to discover more books that had been written about the Philippines. But like there was like a white author that had written about, a fictionalized version of the Philippines, but it was very like loosely based. But it and like she made a lot of assumptions, and also just painted the Philippines in such a like garbage way, and it made me so angry because I know that he had never been to the Philippines. He had been making all of these like harmful assumptions and stereotypes about the kind of people that we are, the kind of culture that we have. When you see a book, you should be critical in the way, in looking at who is writing it and why, especially now, right? Because we live in the time of fake news and this, and so many efforts to like mislead people. We live in the age of social media where it's so easy to be confused by because we all live in these echo chambers. So maybe just be critical in like looking at who has written what. Like look at what is their authenticity. Like did the writing come from a place of authenticity? And maybe in that way, I can advise readers to be more careful and more critical. But in general, read what will encourage you to read more things.
Right.
And then when you find something that's useful, be generous in sharing that information.
Right. Miss Paula, I totally agree with Miss Lee. She said we have to be very critical. Parents also be very critical of what their children are reading, right? Who wrote that book? What is it about? Although the genre is not really, it doesn't matter, but who wrote the book and what is it about? Be very critical. Yeah.
And I do appreciate hearing the perspective of the author that there is no bad book. So
Right.
it depends on the perspective of the reader. So Ms. Lee, I'm very curious. Since the pandemic has hit us, the reading behavior has also shifted from physical books to online materials. So aside from our official school references, such as World Book Online, that we have, which websites do you suggest can we find good books?
I think like one good thing that the pandemic has taught us um, is that we can find information from everywhere, right? Even if we don't go out of our house. And like for me, being far away from home, especially, I'm the kind of reader who really appreciates physical books, right? And so back home, I have a big library of all my favorite books, and I love to smell them and like look at them and touch their
Yes.
spines. But coming here, and like needing to learn always and to read, because we already talked about why it's so important to read and to read widely. I've really appreciated the existence of ebooks. And so like you have places, of course, like Amazon and all of these other um, places where they sell ebooks. But I called some for those of you who might have difficulty finding ebooks that they can afford. There are lots of places that have free resources. The Google ebook store on Google Play has a lot of free classical books that you can download if you download the app on your phone. There's Project Gutenberg. That's Gutenberg.org. I can put that in the chat maybe. But that has a lot of digitized books that have joined the public domain. So all of the classics, things like that, you can find on that website for as long as they have joined the public domain. I think there should be like a digital copy of that. So a lot of the classics, like all of the British literature, things like that, I think you can find there. There's Open Library. So that's openlibrary.org, where you can find still some classical books and also some contemporary books that have been digitized. Yeah, all of these websites that I'm mentioning have free ebooks. And then another one is the Internet Archive. That's archive.org. For other like important academic references, there's also openculture.com. Um, but you'll just have to do a little bit more searching there. But they have so many libraries and like digital libraries and references for everything you want to learn. But all of those websites that I mentioned are great places for you to start reading, learning about anything that you're curious about.
So, Miss Lee, I do appreciate the recommendations of these free open source websites, are you right? These are free and can be accessed by everyone.
Right, let's take note of that. Those are long lists of free websites and applications that we can, we can refer to our students, and you can even propose that next year or as soon as possible time, Miss Paula, right? Thank you, Miss Lee. Now, this has been a very interesting conversation, Miss Lee, but unfortunately, time has caught us already. Do you have any advice? My last question for you. Do you have any advice to our youngsters and to the parents as well who are following our conversation right now?
I think we covered most of the important things. For me, if the only thing that you take away from this is that you should read more, like I'll be very happy. My biggest advice for anyone who wants to become anything is that you should read widely, and when you're able to learn something, please be generous with the information that you learn. But also, as we said, try to be critical. See what are the sources of the media that you're consuming. Also, whenever you can, we talked about so many free resources, but if you're able to, please support authors, especially local authors, who are doing such important work in making sure that Filipino culture and Filipino representation exists in the publishing world. So I hope that you're able to do that, not just for my book, but for so many of the local authors who are working so hard to tell the Filipino stories.
All right. Thank you, Miss Lee. Thank you so much. And your book is available. Would you like to? Is this available in the National Bookstore?
Definitely. What Things Mean is available through National Bookstore, I think, but also through beerbooks.ph and through Lazada and Shopee. And then I have a second book that's also out right now. It's a picture book called Soaring Saturdays. It's the first Filipino picture book to be published by Scholastic.
Wow.
And so I hope that for the picture book lovers out there, if you have young readers too, that you wanna have encouraged to read, that you might be wanting to pick it up. Also at National Bookstore, again at beerbooks.ph, and if you search for my name, Sophia Lee, on the online web stores, I think Lazada and Shopee should have it also.
We'll definitely search for your second book, Miss, and we'll definitely read it.
Yes.
Yeah, good read.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support, and I hope that you all enjoy reading What Things Mean and also maybe Soaring Saturdays when you get the chance.
Right. Thank you, Miss Lee.
Thank you, Miss
Thank
Lee. We
you.
appreciate your time to meet with us today.
You stay safe.
You guys as well. Please stay safe and please keep reading.
What an interesting discussion we had today, Miss Paula. And before we end our talk today, let me invite all Edwardians to the following activities this November as we celebrate the National Reading Month. We already have launched the National Reading Month celebration on November 8th, and we are going to culminate the celebration on December 3rd. The activities are the following. We already have changed our Facebook profile. We have a frame only for the National Reading Month. We also have changed our carousel images in our aralix to signify the launching of the book month. We have worn our favorite book character costume during the launching. Pre-kinder to grade 10 students are encouraged to wear a book character inspired costume or headdress on the launching, and we will be doing that again on December 3rd, the culmination week of the program. We also have exploring virtual libraries. Students will be given a period to explore the World Book Online and EPIC for grades kinder to grade 6. And maybe we can also include the list of the applications in the website that Ms. Lee so this conversation. The lunching program will be facilitated by the English and the Filipino teachers in every class, of course. And we also have Ms. Lee, of course, the Quiz Bee competition, the book Quiz Bee, hosted by, of course, our school librarian, Ms. Paula.
That's right. So we are truly fully booked this November, right, Sir G?
Yes.
As a reminder, reading is a fundamental skill to a person's development of literacy skills. Edwardians can learn and develop their communication and social skills through reading, which helps them not only in their schoolwork, but also in real-life situations.
Indeed. Reading helps develop strategies that will encourage the love for reading and to enhance the communication skills and vocabulary of our kids. With increased literacy, children are able to understand and learn better, thus achieving more in life. This has been your host, Sir Gercov.
And I am Ms. Paula Emilio.
Thank you for joining with us. This is EdEx Talk.